Okay, I think that most of us are here. We are starting with the second panel of today's conference, which has been named Decoding the Noise, Media Literacy for Resilient Societies. We have heard already that in these awkward and tempting and challenging times, everybody, it's media, conventional media is sort of losing or is struggling in this fight with alternative sources or media that have been labeled as media by some other circles these days, and people sometimes are a bit confused whom to trust or not. That's why I think media literacy and professional journalism is needed more than ever these days. But the question is, have we missed the opportunity when it comes to the media literacy, and does the media literacy just implies media literacy or as well technological and political literacy? Everything is sort of interpolated. Today, our panelists are Professor Milica Vučković, researcher at ADMO Hub from the Faculty of Political Science in Zagreb, then Milica Bogdanović from Gonga, researcher at ADMO Hub as well, Kirin, editor-in-chief of Medijska pismenost, an extremely useful and everybody says updated always portal founded by Agency for Electronic Media, and last but not the least, Tihomir Ladišić, editor-in-chief of N1 Television, media partner within the project of ADMO. Professor Vučković, we will start with you. You are the closest one to me as well. So, how hard is it to understand this completely and full digital reality for people, for voters, as well for young generations, all those ones that are under the influence of huge amount of informations and narratives that very often and in a increasing quantity, I would say, are disinformational?
Thank you so much for having me here. It's obviously very hard. It is even hard for us researchers and people who are really well educated in media and media literacy in general. But for young people, I think they are facing like really huge challenges to differentiate what is good and bad in the first place, and that is one of the big problems, and it is part of this larger discussion, not just talking about media literacy. And this is why it is important to talk about building a resilient society in general to information disorders, because all this, what are we talking about, is a part of a larger problem which we call information disorders. And the young people, it's really hard for them. One of the reasons is, as you said, like the overload of information, and it's sometimes impossible for them to differentiate what is important, what is not, and then what is truth, what is not, what is an opinion, and what is just a fact, what is a fact, and what is somebody's opinion, and etc., etc. So it's challenging times, and we still don't have all responses how to act and how to teach them, but I think that we did huge steps forward, and only in last decade, the fact that we are talking so much about media literacy, that raising awareness about importance of media literacy, I think we did great job in that.
But do you think that precondition for media literacy, we have heard it many times this morning here, this syntagm, critical thinking, is a key pillar, and you're coming from the higher educational system. What kind of students are coming to benches when you are having lectures? This generation that it's now at the university, do they have enough of critical thinking as a...
Well, on a daily basis, I'm dealing with a specific group of students, and these are political science students, so they are not a very good sample to talk about the general publics and how they perceive these problems, and when we are talking about these topics, they are very good in media literacy, but what I am facing when I'm talking with that, and as you said, and as we are talking, they have to be resilient, and they have to have a knowledge about not just how to consume media and how to navigate the digital environment, but they have to be literate and know about economics, about health, and all these other areas, so that they don't get confused with what they are reading and consuming in the media. But what is for me, what I see now as a problem is, okay, the media literacy awareness is high, I would say, but in that regard, I'm facing the problem that sometimes they say, okay, yeah, everything is a lie. So they are too critical and suspicious, and that is where the line is really hard to pull, what to be critical or to be judgmental and to be too cynical.
Nihilate altogether.
And that is what are they confusing now, I would say. They think that it's critical when you just say that everything is lie. Yes, of course, I know the algorithms and how they work. I know that all content that is coming to me, it's personalized, it's based on previous my searches, my age, location, and everything else. But yeah, this is big problem to draw the line between criticism, cynicism, and yeah, to be.
And this over flooding with information, Tihomir, these informations are becoming increasingly difficult to recognize for many, not just uneducated, but educated, as Professor said as well. How can professional media that are defined as conventional media still, and journalists within them act again to become so-called gatekeepers, that somehow in this process alternative sources or alternative media have overtaken, because now they are producing, redistributing or distributing the content without any editors or journalists that might even have produced initially that content have a control on it?
True, it's ongoing battle. I think that's, no winners and losers at a time. But I'm really glad to be here and glad to hear and talk with the people from ADMO project that we are cooperating.
I'm really glad to have chance to meet again the people we are cooperating in the last 2 years in the ADMO project. That was really useful for us. So I'm really glad to see my colleagues and exchange some views. It's ongoing crazy battle. It's something that you are like battling every day, and there is no any definite answer. So it's getting harder and harder. That's the fact, because we are flooded with all those new technology, videos and content there. It looks really like real. So that was another dimension. Then we are on the content pressure for being successful media in successful world that you are being and living around. So you have to be some kind of media that are having the results and having the share, because yes, you are facing a lot of those moral and ethical and political and all those questions, but at the end of the day, every 3 months you're sitting with your shareholders, and they're not talking about the Pulitzer story that you are producing in your program. They're talking about the sheets with the numbers. They're talking, and they're just having the numbers of income and what you've got, like your results.
So could we say that business model of media nowadays, it's in a kind of friction with quality-based journalism?
It's always, because, it's absolutely impossible to seeing the media without, what's behind the media. And it's not just, the landscape, but it is the landscape, the political landscape, the pressure from politics that coming, in our colleagues. Serbia is probably one of the, the biggest example right now. There is direct pressure on our colleagues from N1. They're threatening the life, they're threatening, their position and job and existence at the moment. So basically that was always, question of society, of political landscape. Then the laws we've been fighting in last 10 years, many things in Croatia, according to some kind of media landscape and legacy. And that was something that is constantly battle. And what you could do is, try to be close with the people as Milica and, some other researchers and the people who are really working and trying to, establishing some facts. And then, presenting that facts to the viewers. I'm just going to say that every day you are choosing when you're going to send your cameras. And I'm really proud that 2 of my cameramen and 3 cameras from N1 is right now and right here. And there is always choice. You could, choose something different. It's not always competing with the share, because, probably that small panel that we are, listening and being part of, it's not be, the crazy shareholder. But then in the other side, there is some value that you should,
it would be natural as well. You are a partner within the project that you are covering the panel.
So it's constant battle. And, at the end of the day, I think that there is no winners and losers. There's always important that you are thinking that you are doing some valuable for your public and for your viewers and for your readers.
And then always there is a pressure, even here in Croatia with N1 Croatia television, that was perhaps not oppressed in the same way like N1 television in Serbia, but you have been and you still are under political pressure, and some consequences of that could be seen as well within your position on the market or when it comes to the people and quantity of people that work there. Milica Bogdanović from Gonga, could you share with us some of your assessments about the role of civil society at Gonga? What kind of role do you play in enhancing citizens' media literacy? Programs that you do, and we have said it's not just juniors or pupils or the youngest ones that need to be tackled in this quite extensive homework.
Yes. For us, media literacy education does not mean just critically reading media content. It also includes political and digital literacy. We believe that citizens should understand media message they consume. They must be informed about media and social media trends and changes, and understand political and social context in which they consume media content. In Gonga, we consider media literacy education to be a part of civic education, when citizens can find validated information and use credible sources. It makes them to make a better informed decision and actively participate in society and contribute to changing the society they live in. Last year in Gonga we organized education workshops and training for more than 1,000 citizens. We work with diverse groups, including students, as you said, teachers, civic activists, and older citizens. And during all our educational activities, we try to explain them that media literacy education is not just about discussing media content and fighting against disinformation. We try to explain them what is the role of media, how to understand the role of media in society, what is the influence of disinformation on elections, on public opinion, on democracy. And we use different examples, and we try to explain them and encourage them to make the difference between professional media content and content created under political and economic interests.
So do you have any feedback or outcome of those programs? if
Yes.
it could be quantified or not?
It's important to say that each of these groups, because as I said, we work with the diverse groups, each of these groups has specific needs and required different approaches. We had to change the methods. For example, if we work with the youth, they get primarily informed from social media, and as space for spreading disinformation, it makes them sensitive groups and they need more education. For them, it's not enough one single workshop or several school lessons. They need long-term education, and it's important to know that I think youth have stronger technical skills. Most of them have a strong technical competence, but for them it's important to understand more about media, about new trends, about the role of media, for example, the role of journalists in society, and to understand media and make the difference between professional and unprofessional content created by some influencers, for example. And on the other side, okay, we can discuss further about
later. I will
the
just
specific
ask
needs.
now, Miss Kirin, coming from a portal that deals with or offers materials for young people, teachers, civil society and sector. Do you have as well any kind of feedback? How successful, because you are producing material, offering, putting that in a public sphere, but on the other side you need to have sort of interlocutor or someone who uses that and does in a joint interest this hard homework.
Yes, some of the numbers that prove us the importance of these materials are numbers of downloaded materials. It's more than 1,300,000. It's already more than 70 different materials about the different media literacy topics. And the other proof of need for this is also our project Media Literacy Days that we organize every year in springtime since 2018. And every year the number of events organized as a part of the project rises. So this year there was more than 730 events all over Croatia, mostly in schools, kindergartens, libraries, and so on. And with a big number of activities and a lot of more than 37,000 participants, mostly children and youth. And also we have evaluation after these workshops, lectures, and so on. And many of the teachers say they use our materials.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for this first contribution. Professor, could you tell us, because now, okay, we have heard so many times media literacy is needed. We need to be much more engaged to, of course, the bottom line is to change the curriculum. This to be in overall not represented in one subject in the 3rd or 4th grade. But who is going to be, or what is the profile of persons that would teach media literacy? That's the huge issue, the huge challenge, and the huge problem. Do we have, or do we educate those kind of people,
I think there are many people who could teach media literacy, and many of them are exactly on our faculty of political science, but there are also many other faculties of journalism in our country, so I don't see that as a huge problem. Like in high schools, we have the subject politics and I don't know what is the name today, politics and the
economy.
And economics. So I think that there are people who could teach us. It's a truth that these people should be had some wider knowledge about different things, especially the changes in the digital environment, but the efforts that are people present here are doing. I had the opportunity to work with them, and I think that my and Ivan Nenadić's brochure is one of the most popular materials that is downloaded from the portal, and also what Gonga is doing. I had also chance to participate in one of these workshops, which was on the topic of populism, and it was a big group with different generations, I would say, and it was really mind-blowing for me, because I couldn't believe that people are really so much interested in these topics and that they really want to know. So it's not that there is apathy and that they are not interested and so on. So I think that we just have to find the platforms and formats and way how to provide these information, how to empower them to understand all these complex phenomena that are happening right now.
Tihomir, Croatia is at the bottom of Europe when it comes to citizens' trust into the media. Of course, the same goes with the political elites or institutions. That tells you a lot about our society. On the other side, although Croats or Croatian citizens do get informed the most from the portals, they still, service says, trust radio and television the most. How do you explain those kind of trends? So first, the low trust into the media, but then on the other side, although with technologically advanced society, portals, click bites, short concentration, showbiz, sports and everything which is much more milder and more sexy, at the end of the day, it's the old conventional media, radio and TV that are more trusted.
That's the good one, because, it's always like, being close to Pope is always so suspicious. And, that's kind of, the same that Croatia is still, whatever people said, like, we are, done with the politics, we want some, very boring, life and not talking about the past and the politics. At the same time, the results shows that the still politics is something which is really tempting for the people. I used to say that politics in Croatia, it's still content that is much more, shareable and watchable than the sport and entertainment and music, which is crazy. Because when you just taking the numbers and compare those numbers, and when I talk with my colleagues from CNN, for example, they're really getting down in share, and they couldn't compete like with SPN and some sports channel. And then the fact is that N1 is like #1 cable channel in Croatia. They couldn't believe, because we are still facing the fact that Croatia is still very high, sensible political country. So we are like to discuss, all those details from the political parties, from the election, from everything, which is always interesting because, it's not, always counting when people goes on the ballot. It's always, on the, voting place, there is no people who votes. And in the same time, everyone wants to talk about the politics, and it's still, very, very high watchable content. So,
but imagine what would be if we would be Switzerland when nobody knows who is the president, and we are just taking care of our standard, not talking in coffees about this and that.
That's exactly the case. So, we want to be, like a Switzerland, but still wants to know every part of dirt from our politicians, not necessarily about the politics or the programs, but if they're, finding some dirts about, the behind the private lives and everything.
But then we are not talking about hard politics and professional journalism. We are talking again about click bites.
Exactly, and that's some kind of duality in Croatia, which is really interesting. And the problem with the new technologies, in the modern media, especially in the portals or in the TV, you have the live share, and you could compare. When you're talking, about some topics and some guests. And then you're seeing that, crazy blue line go crazy. And then if you talk about really interesting, publicly important things, those shares is going down. So it's always kind of, the choose that you do every day. And this is why when we're talking about the media, that those facts that there is editors in the media is most important things. Because, you might have like tons and tons of content, but if you don't have the editors who are really recognize what is valuable, what is true, what is really important to, make those stories, that's something that, makes some huge difference between the media and the media who are trusted and who wants to be trusted and who wants to gain, some trust in the public. And I think that value of, experienced editors in the media will be the #1 future question.
I would agree, competent editors, but the beginning of the chain, it's competent and professional journalists and reporters on the field.
Can I just, your question reminded me of this study from, it was one of these special editions of Eurobarometer in 2022, I think. And when people were asked in this study who should be first in combating the disinformation and all these things that we are talking about, most of them answered, on the first place it was media.
It's always media to blame,
No,
There's no doubt.
this
or
wasn't the blame.
just to give the burden to media and
then
lawyers.
The government,
so we are competing very hard.
The government's educational system, I don't know what else variables were offered, but I think it is a great opportunity for professional media, if they will, of course, use it at the moment, because I think that people want to have sort of, how to say it, like a safe place to go on media and to know that what you read there is like trustworthy, that it's true, that it's professional, and that the public interest is in the first place and not like in the news that you get from the social media platforms, where you know that the profit is the first goal of these platform owners.
Of course, but wishes are one thing, and I would like that we live in a Scandinavian surrounding, that here in Croatia all of my colleagues are surely not living. We are going to come back to the trust to journalists and media as well. I was wondering, in your work, especially with teachers in schools, what is their feedback when it comes to media literacy or work with children? What they need the most effectively to make the breakthrough? If you have cooperated with them or did joint projects, what were their feedbacks? Because at the end of the day, it looks like now that the burden of that share, it's on teachers a lot in schools.
One of our important group are teachers. They have a key role in the process of creating or developing critical thinking skills of the teachers. But when we organize professional development program for teachers and we talk with them, their problem is because media literacy is not a subject in our educational schools, in our educational system. Problem is that they can teach some media literacy topics within the Croatian language, but they don't have enough knowledge about media literacy.
Then we come to this question, who is going to lecture about that?
That's a problem. For example, they have some space in the Croatian language program to discuss about the influence of media on public opinions, or to discuss about the role of media, but it's basic knowledge and it's old-fashioned. They don't have a space to discuss about, or they don't know how to discuss about online risks, about AI tools, about the influence of new media trends or changes on citizens, or especially on youth, and they call us, or they come to our education, and they need more knowledge. Also, our research show that small number of them have participate in any kind of non-formal education, and that's a problem, and we don't give up. We continue to organize education and invite them, and also we provide them educational material. We support them and help them to understand the students, their different media habits, and to use technology without fear. It's so important for them.
So, Ms. Kirin, without the comprehensive education reform and curriculum change, is all this, which is nice, efforts are done, projects are done, tick boxes are done, funding is done, are all those efforts futile?
I don't think so. I think that it's worth it to do what we can do in the situation we are in. But surely UNICEF, which is also partner in this project of media literacy, together with Agency for Electronic Media, we are also for including media literacy more in the curricula, and also 68.4% of Croatian citizens also think that media literacy should be more included in the schools.
Coming to media literacy, let's take one example, which is very present nowadays in Croatian society, because situation on our labor force market, it's quite demanding and challenging, one could say. So we have many new citizens or co-citizens seeing on the streets of Zagreb as well. And if you just compare 2 years ago situation in trams or on the streets, it's completely different landscape. And those foreign workers as well are migrants, economic migrants. Dealing with migrants as such, a term migrant, which to be put in a framework of media literacy and knowledge or education about others or the others, it's quite a challenging issue these days. Could we say that with better media literacy or education, we would perceive this very complex phenomena that Croatia has been exposed from 2015, but with different sort of migrants, much more easily, much more in an informative way, and that those people would be integrated or accepted into our society without being labeled, sort of saying, because these days we just hear about Ukrainian refugees, but all the others are migrants, including foreign workers, and they even have been labeled. Of course, there are individual cases that needs to be, indicted if there is a case, as well as perhaps sexual predators. So I want to make the connection between knowledge, education, and media literacy and topic or phenomena of migrants in our media and in our society.
Well, it is obviously a huge topic, and my colleagues from Faculty of Political Science and I were at the moment doing the research about the presentation of migrants and foreign workers in Croatian media landscape. That is the first part of this huge problem, that media reporting about the foreign workers and these disinformation narratives that are spread through professional media. That's a huge problem. And the frames that are, when we are talking about foreign workers that are put in, so this is one problem.
In what way? They are just redistributing news or,
yes,
or materials from alternative sources, or putting question marks into the...
Yes, putting the question marks and putting the clickbait titles, and then when you're reading the article, it doesn't have a much connection with the title. And in this specific topic, this theory of disinformation trumpet, that explains how the disinformation spread, which shows that the disinformation starts in a small group, then it spreads on conspiracy theories groups, then on social media groups. But most people hear about disinformation when they come to traditional media. And in many ways, sometimes the traditional media or legacy media, professional media, call them as you like, have the intention to debunk or to say, okay, this was the disinformation, but the way how they present it and how they frame it, especially in the titles, it's very, very problematic. And they are doing that, of course, intentionally, because they want that click, they need it for the commercials and the economic models of the media and the portals in most cases, but that is very problematic practice that are seeing every day. Like one of the most popular portals, if you go now there, you will see at least one problematic article about the foreign workers or migrants. And then, but what I find also the part of this problem is, of course, government's communication and communication in general about these topics. And it is part of a media literacy, but also we are totally missing the public campaigns, informational and educational public campaigns about certain topics. And this is one of the topics where citizens should have been informed about, educated about, and prepared for, and not just to, as my sister would say, like, I was just walking through the street and then like 10 of them, I just saw them behind it. I didn't know if they are just tourists or they are, but then I realized they live here, and it is in small city in Croatia. You can imagine the shock of these people when they see like group of 10 foreign workers with a different skin color, and they have no idea that they are coming, who they are, what are they doing there, and so on. So I think this is maybe even one part of the problem. So the total miss of the communication and public campaigns about certain topics, and then of course, media reporting about these topics.
Tihomir, is this just one of the examples that shows that perhaps it's not just the quality-based journalism and professional work of journalists that do their features or news enough, that even media that you within N1, with the project N1 Disinfo have done it, need to do not just your basic professional journalistic work, but as well to add something to media literacy for the public broader positive outcome?
Yeah, it's a very complex question, as Milica said, and I'm going to mention just, a little bit later, a few examples, which is, give us a much broader picture of that. But yes, we do with ADMO the greatest series of the series that Ivana Dragičević produced. I'm really proud of that. That was one of the high quality content that we produced on N1. It's really important that question tackling the migrants that starts on Lampedusa, and then having some history of what's going on, explanation. It's so much important to understand what's behind that great political and media questions right now, because right now, yes, we're talking about those very hard examples in Croatia that is running on the media. But then if you're seeing what's going on in the world, I've been traveling in Kuwait, there is, absolutely society divided on two divisions. One is Kuwaitis, and the second is, the servants from other countries like, Pakistanis and others. And it's so visible on the street that you have like two kind of people there living in that country.
But comparing to Croatia, they do have oil.
Exactly. They are so rich. So they, doesn't want to do any kind of job that driving, in big, cars on the street and having the, high profile job, and everything else like, commuting and driving and, doing some, everyday job is just the foreigners. They're living exactly as a servant there. And then you have a question, and examples like in Netherlands right now that, media is actually reporting that there is a self-organizing people on the border who wants to prevent entering of migrants in Netherlands because, they're not satisfying what
we had those kind of political initiatives as well in parliament.
Exactly. That's the case. Yeah. So what I try to say that, when we talk about the social media, I mean, how do you even, understand what's going on in social media if, the owners of the social media is the one who's spreading the fake news and hates about the migrants. And it's, something that we see. It's not acceptable, but It's just, everyday life that we are facing on. And then United States and many examples. So what I try to say that we are still facing that beginning of that problems, and it's very important to tackle that question before that we have some serious issues and problems.
And to educate people,
And that was so much important, in terms of, how to integrate that people in society, how to, make him some opportunities to learn the language, the culture and everything, and being really part of the society. Or we're gonna make some ghettos and aliens that, we are facing, in the 10 or 15 or 20 years as a people who are not satisfying and, they have real problems in their lives.
But perhaps, in this line with conventional media as TV, fighting with alternative sources or platforms, many those complex contents, perhaps, or are you thinking within your own company to use artificial intelligence much more? We know that the Paris Declaration on Artificial Intelligence and Journalism has been signed, and it's real on the table. It's a living organism. It has been adopted. So in the coming years, do you see that perhaps conventional media could fight against alternative media that might produce fake news or deep fake or tackle those kind of questions in a wrong way by using much more artificial intelligence? And what would that mean for journalists as physical persons, These days we already have had in Western Europe some ChatGPT anchors.
Yeah, I mean, that's the, technical race that we are facing right now. So I guess that we're going to very soon find a way that we need to have the tools to find and declare that those videos or their content is artificial made. And, that's absolutely not possible to see that with your own eye. It's crazy, but that's true. So we are not being able to recognize is that video is artificially made or is real. But then technology could help you, which is kind of, interesting that even that technology could use it in a very evil way and, producing something which is completely fake and, but in the same time, you need technology exactly to fight and to fight, that, artificial intelligence in the same time. So it's, very, a futuristic question, but it's true.
Perhaps
we need technology to fight technology who actually producing the fake news.
Perhaps it would be nice to make one day one kind of survey, within the viewers or TV spectators, to have one ChatGPT anchor saying proper, correct news, and the living person saying fake news, just to see, and have we come up with any kind of next level of media literacy of younger generations that are much more technologically better shaped than, I would say, most of us and our generations here, and to make the jigsaw where they will, with social and emotional intelligence, need to find the right way and the right information.
We are actually, having these exercises with the students. And
then what's the feedback?
No, there are many projects that are in a form of video games and similar that you have to recognize what is fake and what is real, and it's teaching you step by step how to be resilient and empowered to recognize the fake news. And it's not that you have to go to check the source, do this, check the date, and etc., but just to recognize it by heart, already by heart. And it's usually if you're resilient on this emotional instinct that you mentioned in the previous panel and so on. So there are already similar projects, not what you said. Maybe some owner of the platforms will now use your idea.
But at the end of the day, it's a vicious circle, because it's not solely younger generations, those ones that are students or going through that kind of projects, that are voting. At the end of the day, it's the older generation with low turnout here in Croatia with every elections. So it really has an impact or consequences on resilience of democracy in certain countries. Are there any questions from the public? We have 10-ish minutes more for our participants of the panel when it comes to media literacy or anything related to media literacy. Professor Grbesha. Please just, they will give you a mic.
Thank you. So I have a question for everyone, just a brief one. First, I'd like to say kudos to the Agency of Electronic Media, because I think in this very restricted initiative, restricted environment, they are doing a lot to basically encourage the resilience in terms of building a network of fact checkers and also media literacy. So I think you're doing a very nice job there. So Professor Vučković, you made a very interesting point about the about how people actually want to learn, and that's one takeout from Gong's project. So I'm interested, since you're also Vice Dean at the Faculty of Political Science, so what is the university doing to make this community outreach, to basically contribute to the efforts of Gong and maybe other institutions? And that's not only the question for our university, but also other academic institutions, because I think there is a bit of a gap between community and academia. So is there more? Do you have any idea how this outreach can be done? And also to Mr. Ladišić, so we spoke a lot about basically the problems in media and with media and journalists. Our experience with students is mainly when they enter the newsrooms very early, because we are the University of Journalism. They are very disappointed very often, and by the time they finish, they graduate, they say they don't want to work in journalism. So that's a huge problem, and they mainly blame it to the editors and the owners of the media. So can you give us a bit of your perspective on that?
Okay, thank you so much for your question, Professor Grbesha. The university and especially our faculty, as it is a very important player, I would say, in this information environment and so on. Yeah, it's doing too little, and what it's doing too slow, and it's not doing enough. And yeah, that's the conclusion. There are many reasons and why it's that is like that, and why we are not doing more, and why we are not doing it better. But yeah, I think that in this question there are no excuses. We should all do better.
Perhaps shortcut solution is that the rector or deans open TikTok profiles just for the beginning, you know.
We opened the TikTok of faculty, so we are trying to do some effort.
Personally, I was joking. Yes, please could you?
Just to add, I think that we need a long-term education for all citizens, regardless of ages, in the field of media literacy, political and digital literacy. And also, I think that all of us have to educate citizens and raise awareness about social media trends and social media changes, especially to explain them that social media is not space for chatting with the family and friends. It's more, they should know more about the ownership of social media platforms, their methods for collecting data, about the process of using our private data, and also the role of social media platforms in the process of creating our habits and values. And also it's so important to explain citizens what is the purpose of this information, because I think that purpose of this information is to undermine the trust in a key political institution, to influence the integrity of elections, and maybe I can tell to destroy democratic values in our society.
Tihomir, do young journalists leave N1 television because of editors and owners?
Sometimes yes. I guess it's always two-ways process. And I'm just give you a few examples. Like, you know, we're always talking about the new young people because, you know, I think it's so important. And just recently, actually today, we had an announcement of new summer school at N1, which is, you know, traditionally we ask all those students who are on finishing levels of faculty to join us for a summertime and spend the time with us in the newsroom and just, you know, give us opportunity to learn a lot. And that gives us a few really great journalists who making career not just in N1 then in other national broadcasters TV. Then another example is we always try to talk with the people who send us some kind of CV and saying we would like to work on N1. But then sometimes you have examples like, editor of our website, Tomislava Sila, and me sitting with the one young person who seems to be very bright, very interesting. But the first sentence when we sat together was, okay, just make us clear. I love to be journalist, but I don't want to work any weekend. So please, if I could work on N1, but not on the weekend, because I want to have my free weekends, and that's very important for me. So I mean, yes, sometimes the people who wants to go and enter in the newsroom having some kind of views of the job, which is not, the real job of journalism.
I mean, things have changed from my generation or your generation.
Exactly.
When it comes in journalism, what kind of sacrifice, professional or individual, private one, the person would do, because at the end of the day, this is not just profession, it's a way of living, I would say. Or it was.
And I think that one of the, key point was the pandemic. I think many things change after that. The people are so much, especially the young people, they're so much more focusing on their own lives, their own, world. And, they want to do stuff they're considering to be, smart way in the life. And that's true. When I enter into journalism, I live that every day. I breathe that. I've been on the terrain like for several months. I travel a lot. I try to learn a lot, and I don't see actually that kind of motion in the young generation right now. I know the world's changed. It's probably the consequence, but still. I still believe that that summer schools and opportunity for the young people is the best part of the N1, because we have a lot of space, we have a lot of program, and we have opportunity to give really space and time for the young people who wants to learn about the journalism, and our newsroom is always open for the young people.
But as well, if I may add, and this might be part of the question to Professor Grbesha, a question. At that time, while I was a fresh journalist, editors had much more time to work with journalists, mentors as well. These days, with the business model of companies, especially 24 hours news channel, cable channel, this does not exist. So they are just, after 1 or 2 months perhaps of summer school, put in front of the camera, which is not normal, in a way that you could not as in any other profession, and especially the one that has kind of privilege, but as well responsibility for what has been said publicly, because it has, coming back to this disinformation thing or information framework, it has the value. So I would say that the whole circle has been a sort of put on a wrong, and it's the question, would it be brought back on a right foundation?
I don't think so, and you're completely right. I could never remember when I first entering in the newsroom. I was able to just writing the so-called writing news, that was like a couple of sentences, for 6 months. Before I even have a chance to grab the camera for a few hours and go and filming like news of the town, like the community problems and everything. So exactly, that was the way that you are learning a lot now, especially in the 24 hours channels and the news. It's crazy. I mean, our reporters doing like 7 to 8 live shots every day, being on the several stories every day. And yes, that's quite, tempting. And, I understand that young people who have some kind of, very romantic views of what TV journalism is sometimes are disappointing about the reality.
But just to finish on a bright side, this panel, what I must say that young generations of journalists today are brighter, smarter, technologically much more driven and knowledge-based than our generations, and that's their advantage. So at the end of the day, it's the matter of whoever is the editor or the owner just to channelize that kind of huge creative and any other sort of potential, those people to do responsible and quality-based public work, which journalism at the end of the day is. And really, just to wrap it up, for media literacy or any kind of fight against disinformation or defending values of institutions and rule of law society, journalism is a must, and journalism is a pillar number one, I would say, especially in Croatia these days. Thank you very much for participating in this panel. So it was about media literacy. Thank you for your attention.